Hi, welcome. Glad you stopped in. I'm going to be assembling my Agri-Fab 40-inch tine lawn dethatcher and using it for the first time. Now, spoiler alert, I do like this tool. It is a bit cumbersome to store in the garage, but you know, every lawn implement usually is. If you've got a lawn tractor like my John Deere X300 here, or if you've got even like an ATV or UTV, you could probably pull this lawn dethatcher around. You do need to have some broad areas to make some big sweeping turns if you've got a real tight, narrow lawn or lot. Also would say that you need to really have some sort of a lawn sweeper like I've got stored behind me here, because without that, raking up all of that thatch can be a real chore. I've done it before and it takes just forever and it's backbreaking. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell notification icon because you don't want to miss my video about my Agri-Fab lawn sweeper as well. We're almost the middle of April and we're still getting snow in the morning sometimes. We're right about that point though where I want to do the dethatching. I don't want the ground too wet. I also want to do it before I actually put down any kind of a pre-emergence for weed control, because once you put that down you pretty much don't want to touch it for about 4 months to let it do its job. You wouldn't want to use these tines to scratch it up. You know, the idea behind getting rid of the thatch is if you've got more than an inch of thatch in your lawn, that can keep the water, the air, and the nutrients that you may be putting down on your lawn from getting to the roots of your grass. If it gets too thick, you really want to rake that up. I bought my Agri-Fab 40-inch tine lawn dethatcher 3 years ago using a Lowe's discount coupon, which gave me the license for a decent tool haul that day. I also bought the Agri-Fab lawn sweeper because I think it just goes hand in hand with the dethatcher. I've spent way too many vacation days hand dethatching and hand raking quarter-acre and half-acre lots. To me, if I've got the lawn tractor, I'm going to let it do the heavy pulling. I was really delighted to see that this dethatcher is made in the USA. Agri-Fab's own YouTube channel is just full of videos that has a lot of helpful information as well for their various products. I felt the assembly instructions were clear and pretty comprehensive. The assembly instructions clearly list the necessary hand tools required. There are 2 sets of bolts that are 1 inch by 5/16 that you have to be careful because one's a hex bolt, the other one are carriage bolts, and you have to make sure you use those carriage bolts in a very specific spot. There's only 4 of them, whereas I think there's like 15 of the other, but you do want to be careful to make sure you use the right ones in the right place. To install the tines, you're really just using a screwdriver to bend the tabs down to keep them securely in place. I presume these are replaceable, as I'm sure this is a wear item over time. Now, I didn't have any missing parts, but Agri-Fab makes it very clear in their box as well as their instructions that they have a resource that you can use to get replacement parts. The bottom of the lift handle actually attaches to the axle bracket to be able to raise and lower from a transport position into its operational position, and that lift handle actually is adjusted to the slight right side to give it a little bit of tension so that when you lift that lift handle it falls into that notch in the tine plate, so therefore it stays secure. So you've kind of got a little bit of tension, and you need to adjust this bracket at the bottom to make sure that there's a bit of a pressure to the right hand side. The final step of the assembly is putting this plastic grip over the top of the lift handle. I'm just making sure that those finger knobs are facing rearward to give you a little grip when you reach back. After connecting the dethatcher to the back of my lawn tractor, I wanted to make sure that the front tines and the back tines are equally hitting the ground. So I'm on the level surface of the concrete in my garage, and I've got a level on top, but I'm pretty much just eyeballing just to see that the front tines and the back tines are equally pressing against the ground, because I did have to use the adjustment of those carriage bolts on the back of the dethatcher to kind of raise and lower those back tines just to be equal with the front. The tine shield is made for up to 70 pounds of additional weight. I'm choosing to use some 4x8x16 solid cement pavers. It keeps the profile of the weight very low, so therefore it's less top heavy than a standard cinder block. And the standard cinder blocks are rated at about 36 pounds each, which would technically take me over the 70 pound tine shield limit. These 4x8x16s are 33 pounds each, bringing me in at 66 additional pounds, which is just about right. I do want to secure these blocks with some rubber tethers. I bought tethers that are just a little too long. These are 21 inch. I should have just bought some 6-inch tethers to just go laterally over the tops. I'm sort of improvising here by going across the entire length just because my tethers were a bit long. Now, if I could make two improvements, they would regard the lift handle. It is fairly flimsy feeling. It's just very thin steel. Part of it is because they have to have it so you can kind of pull it over into a notch when it's in the transport position. And I wish it was just a little more rigid. And I wish there was a way you could disengage it or fold it over or pull it out, because just to store this device is kind of a pain. I've got a decently sized garage, but that handle sticking out really limits the ability to properly store this without it always being in the way. So that would be just one improvement, if there was any way they could figure out a locking, folding handle of sorts. Now I can operate the dethatcher without any additional weight. However, it's more than likely going to just be hopping around, and those tines are just going to run along the surface versus actually having the weight to hold it down and scratch, bring up the thatch. Now, operating this, they recommend in a crisscross pattern. I tend to just get my momentum up in the tractor and kind of just make big sweeping turns so I can kind of keep going without having to stop very often or make sharp turns. But it would make sense to do a crisscross pattern to get better coverage. And pretty much it's up to how many times you want to pass back and forth. And of course, that's really dependent upon how much thatch buildup you've got. Now you may see I put down some cardboard from the packaging just to protect the paint, at least on my initial run. I don't continue to do it as it's gotten older, but just those initial times I was trying to just protect that paint a little bit from those cinder blocks. The handle is made to operate while you're sitting on the lawn tractor, and it does work. However, I do tend to get off the tractor after setting the parking brake and head to the back and actually lift it up a bit and then set the handle, mainly because the tines sometimes are kind of dug into the turf a bit. The handle is just a little flimsy in my book, and I feel like it could be a little more rigid and give you a little more confidence that you can pull that up with a lot of strength without necessarily feeling like it's kind of wobbling back and forth. That would be one improvement I would make on this. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, give me a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. And also consider sticking around, because together we find out what works in real life.